I'm feeling unsteady, yeah. Don't you rock my boat no more. I'm feeling so shaky, yes. Don't you rock my boat no more. And brother, don't you rock my boat.
Welcome to Pushing Your Peers podcast, the number one podcast in the region for living a progressive and happier life. What if the key to global success is embracing the culture and creativity that's already within you? On this episode, we are joined by John G, a Trinidad-born reggae soul artist, songwriter, and cultural advocate who has written for Caribbean superstars such as Machel Montano and Patrice. Together, we explore the power of Caribbean identity, the importance of supporting young talent, and how music can be used as a tool for healing, purpose, and positive change. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss an episode. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready to push some peas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome John G to Pushing Your Peers podcast. And he has a fantastic story to tell us. But before we dive into his story, John D, do you mind giving us a little sample of your music? Because it's so beautiful. Just a bar. Just give us a bar of your music before we get
Ah,
started.
all right. I guess I'll sing a part of one of the songs of the EP called Unsteady. So there's the chorus. I'm feeling unsteady, yeah. Don't you rock my boat no more. I'm feeling so shaky, yes. Don't you rock my boat no more. And brother, don't you rock my boat. No, sister, don't rock my boat no more. And won't you hold it steady, yeah. Don't you rock my boat no more. Yeah, man.
Georgie, it's crazy. I was listening to your album before the show. And out of the four songs, that one, it's crazy how you picked the one that because living in this world, that's actually
Yeah.
an anthem. Don't you rock my boat?
Yeah, yeah. Give thanks, man. I give thanks for that name. I appreciate that.
I gotta clap out. Yeah, we gotta clap it up. We gotta clap it up. So Georgie, tell us where did this journey start for you in your childhood? Where did it start?
Childhood, wow. Um, so I grew up in South Trinidad, in a village called St. Madeleine, next to the sugarcane, um, kind of, suburban, rural, something like that in the middle. And you grew up looking on at MTV and VH1, and you learn about the stars. The stars that kind of stuck with me were Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, Sizzler, right? A host of others, because you get your inspiration from other places, but those at a young age stuck with me. And always was singing, 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 and then one day I'm singing to myself. A teacher of mine at primary school said, uh, "You could sing. Why are you not in the choir?" Right? And put me in front of everybody to sing the morning hymns, right? At that time, you had the very high voice, the kind of young Michael Jackson high voice, and you can hit all the crazy notes. And I started pursuing that, and then it kind of was put on pause because a lot of people don't talk about this with males, but as you grow up, the voice breaks, and nobody teaches you how to deal with that. So after all this praise and recognition from teachers and family and friends, you feel kind of, well, I remember feeling kind of embarrassed that now I no longer have this high voice, lovely voice, right? So I kind of put singing back in the bathroom, singing in the shower until later on in secondary school. Uh, some friends of mine kind of joined up, and I was like, I always had this passion, and we started singing soca together in a group called 645. And then we entered a national competition, and from there we just went for a bit together. We did a lot, yeah. So that I guess is the beginning from young into secondary school. Yeah.
What was your parents' reaction to you having the singing voice, and did they encourage you as you progressed throughout your career?
Nah. Nah. Caribbean parents, I've realized in my manly years, I've realized I have to let go of some of the regret and hurt in the lack of support from my own parents. I don't hate them. I love my parents. Love my parents. But many Caribbean parents do not understand the significance of having a talented musical child and supporting that. We look at the Caribbean and we notice that the stars that we have were many of them were actually supported by their parents, right? So if we look at soca only, we look at Machel Montano from a young age, from a little boy, his mother and father were instrumental in his career. You look at who's another good example, Ufanabs and Ufanabs in soca, or Kes de Fintala, and that entire family being musical. um, you look at the Blackman family, just the very origin of soca, right? With Rashoti I, the who's recognized as creating that genre. And but for me, sorry, uh, my mom was like, nah, books. My dad was the same way. Yeah, books, academics. So I mean, I must say, hats off to them because I now also have a good job. Um, I've expanded my horizons in the academic field as well, up to the master's level. So
Oh, congratulations.
yeah, yeah, man, give thanks. Um, but no, music was all me and my own passion and having to reinforce what I believed I had to share. And it was strange too because I had to keep reconciling. My mom gave me the name Ajay, Agyei, Ajay, right? It's a Ghanaian name. It means messenger from God. And I always felt like if it's telling a joke, if it's telling a story, I was always creative with stories, and I felt like I had something to say. So I had to reconcile. Well, you give me this name, but when I'm trying to lean into the energy, you don't support it. Yeah, but I felt like again, no blame to my parents. I felt like this is what they knew, this is what they were taught, right? Go to school, get a job, save. Yeah, that's what they were taught. So you can't really instill or teach your children anything that you don't know. So yeah, that was my experience, I guess, with my parents.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have up and coming soca, soul, Caribbean. He's a fusion, and we're gonna dive into that as long throughout the conversation. But please like, subscribe, and share this video if you are watching and listening. Now, John G, you have parents listening, watching.
Yeah,
You just said what you said.
yeah.
Based on your experience, what would be your advice to these parents?
My humble advice would be to lean in to your child's creativity. Um, I do understand the fears of uh, making sure that your child, wanting to make sure that your child is safe and secure in this world financially. Um, but in this ever expanding world and this attention based world, and you see how content creators can now become millionaires based off of creativity. Independent filmmakers can become millionaires based off their creativity. And even if we reach back and we look at the legendary musicians, we've seen for a long time that musicians are able to feed their family and their extended family based off their creativity. But it really does take a village. It is difficult for any one human to do something on their own, and the love and support of a parent means everything. So I would say to any parent, lean into that creativity when the tree is young. You could bend it, you could mold it, you could set it in the right direction so that when it grows old, it is strong, right? And firm in the ground. So I would say support it and give them the right direction so that they could not only secure themselves, but beyond their circle. Yeah.
I was a part of a discussion recently, and one of the questions came up: how can the Caribbean diversify the economy? And my response was growing the creative industry.
Definitely.
And I was recently reading an article published by one of the news outlets in Jamaica, and the article stated that the creative industry generated over 400 million US dollars for the Jamaican economy last year. Think about that.
Yes, sir.
Think about that.
And about $4 billion for the Canadian industry last year.
Think about that.
Yeah.
You
4 billion
know,
US. 4 billion big ones.
what if we just as there's no other on this side of the world. I ain't talking about Africa, the motherland, but this side, there's no other culture in the region that's more creative than that and diverse and
Amen.
gifted than the
Amen.
Caribbean.
And
Even
I think though, Leo, I think that because it's so rich, because it's so accessible, we have become a bit desensitized to its power, right? The power of culture. I mean, every Caribbean person, I can say without fear of contradiction that every Caribbean family has one or two creatives. Somebody singing, somebody playing an instrument, somebody bending wire to make mass, somebody, yeah, somebody doing, and we become, yeah, bro, and we become so desensitized to it. It has in our minds become normal and a hobby because we could all do it. It feels like, okay, let me make this analogy. Our parents, I remember my parents and our parents and grandparents would have felt it strange to sell mangoes because everybody had a mango tree, right? So I make the comparison to that and creativity and culture. Everybody and their family could be creative, so why sell it? Right? Why monetize it? And we fall asleep on culture in my humble opinion.
I mean, you saw it recently with I Show Speed.
Ye-
I mean,
Come
why
on.
why why
Went
does it?
across the Caribbean and showed the various aspects of Caribbean culture. So Jamaica and reggae and dancehall, Trinidad and Tobago and soca and calypso, and the rich, what should I say, the rich culinary ability as well. People don't think about food when they think culture. The rich culinary skills in our individual countries and what we have to share in the fabric of the world, right, culturally. And he showed it off. I mean, in a kind of quirky, comedic way, but to, to millions of people following him, right?
And
So, I
and
mean,
what we saw, John G, was since his tour, there's been an uptick in bookings.
okay,
How many Caribbean people are living abroad? When they come home, they don't display the culture like that.
yeah,
It's like they're ashamed of it. Why?
yeah.
Why? And I'm sorry, I'm deviating from you, but why does it take other people glorifying our culture for us to realize that we actually do have a rich culture here?
Well, I would say, Leon, I don't want to make it into a depressing conversation, but I really would say that it comes from imperialism, from colonialism, and a loss of self worth and self confidence, right? Being the children of slaves and indentured laborers is very significant, right? I reach back to, in these types of conversations, to that reading of that plantation owner called Willie Lynch. The name for the lynching comes from him. And he had an entire philosophy, scarily so, that they call the thousand year doctrine. And if you divide people, he said, if you divide these people by skin color, height, age, gender, right, and a host of other things, you can rule them for 100 years, because they'll lose their identity, and their identity is tied to you. And if you do it correctly, you can rule them for 1,000, right? So it was a shocking thing for me to read, that somebody put this down in a letter to others to teach this philosophy. And I feel like that type of activity, that colonial activity in the Caribbean, left us with a real serious deficiency in self-worth and self-confidence. And our identity is being tied to what the foreigners think about us. Yeah. I feel like Jamaica has probably done the best job with grasping their own and what they are, and packaging that and creating a national identity and selling.
I gotta drop a bomb on that one. That's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, we got John G. And as you can see, he's not only a musician, but he has a deep desire for the progression of not only Trinidad, but the whole Caribbean region. So thank
Indeed.
you, John G. Let's dive into your music career. John G, ladies and gentlemen, he is not a small fry. This guy is on his way out. I've read you've written for Machel. I've read that. But not only that, but tell me about that process, but also the process of you becoming the musician that you are today, the levels you had to go through, the challenges.
Right, right. So, I mean, that's great. We could dovetail from our earlier conversation from coming out of secondary school. We entered that university level, and we went to university, went to the to UE in St. Augustine, Trinidad together. Myself and two other brethren call ourselves 645. We entered a contest called Synergy Soca Star. And people might think like, okay, that's just this national contest in Trinidad. But if we look at the history of that, it was really culturally significant for Trinidad and Tobago, in that we had stars like Fireball, Second Star, Pretty, Umi Makano, if you could remember him, and others coming out of that and becoming, their own heavyweights in soca, right? And because of that opportunity, we got to work with a lot of different artists, like Tricanal. We did work with them, perform with them. Uh, as you said, wrote and did background vocals for Machel Montano, Desha Garcia, Iwa George, Blacks, God rest his soul, um, and a host of other people, right? And that just expands your horizons. I remember being on stage during the Soca Monarch with Machel Montano for Advantage, and also when he did Float, that night with Float. And I remember when Super Blue came out on stage, and he had Fantastic Friday, and the amazing energy that he spread. Boy, it was crazy, Leo. It's like the entire stadium went from darkness. It was when he was coming on, it was dark. And then as he came on, the blue lights came on, and powder. just in the air. And it's like, what is this energy and how can we access it? Because it is crazy, right? So we worked with those, and then from there, I was able to get to, well, I mean, life, yeah. And we kind of drifted apart, uh, life paths in 2016, 2015. And 2016, I started up a band with my then partner called Next Chapter, um, doing reggae fusion music, right? And from that, we were able to perform in different festivals like the Tobago Jazz Experience, and do some. I continued to write music. So at that time, I was writing on my own. I continued to write soca music. I wrote songs for Ola Tunji, Patrice Roberts, Fire Empress. Yeah, bro. We try a thing. Yeah, we try a thing.
Oh man,
Right?
that's amazing, John
Yeah.
G. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you, John G is that guy, and as you can hear, he's so humble about it. John G, when you being in that environment, that atmosphere, where does your confidence come from? Like, how do you not feel, I guess, pressured or intimidated by being around so many big names like the Patrices, the Marshalls, and the others that you've named?
Boy, I have to say first this because I'm a Trinidadian. I I will say to you, Leo, that the Trinidadian crowd is the hardest crowd to perform for in the world, and I'm not saying that lightly. I could remember that there was a concert when John Legend and Rihanna came to Trinidad and Tobago, and Rihanna's well, she was the first headliner, and Trinidadians were not accustomed to her. She was just like no on the rise. She was just becoming like this global name. She sang Umbrella and right, yeah, we know her, but we ain't in love with her yet. Yeah, and she came down, and Trinidadians just looked at her. Some went to the bar, right? It's crazy, bro. Right? And no knock to Rihanna at all, right? But I'm just saying how difficult it can be, right? So that I have immense respect for soca artists who have to do that year in, year out, please this type of crowd, right? Um, and because of that, I think while I still have that respect and I still feel humbled by these guys, I mean, you see them as humans, right? And it when you could humanize these people, I think for me it allows you to work with these people to create. Because for me, the goal is not fame. The goal is not stardom, right? Some have that goal, and nothing is wrong with that goal. But for me, the goal is the message. And I think that's a part of why I kind of moved away from, that kind of high energy soca music. While it is joy, um, sometimes I feel like other than those slower paced groovy music, sometimes I feel like the message could get lost. And I have great respect for my friends, like good friends of mine, Mohammed Moakil and Lulayans and Freetown Collective, and how they've been able to marry the message with soca music again and calypso music. And I'm working now with Kit Israel out of Advocate Productions, who did Take Me Home with Freetown, and I think I may go, do something in soca again, right? But it really is. So that's, I guess, that's how I feel. There's no disrespect to these guys. These guys are monsters, yeah, and they deserve all the flowers that they get. But for me, I feel like the most important thing is touching lives and touching souls. with the message. So we are all human.
Now let's dive into your recent album,
Yeah.
um, the Messenger of God. I can't pronounce the name, so I'll leave that to you.
I know. It
but
was a terrible choice. A terrible choice on my part.
but the music is beautiful.
Give thanks.
I mean, I feel like it's the opening of one of those Hollywood movies. Sort
Uh,
of like it's one of those songs you hear, like couple of those songs can play in a Hollywood film, and
I
you do
appreciate that.
have some experience with films. We're gonna dive into
Yeah.
that shortly after this,
Yeah.
but tell us the process of creating the album and why you chose those four songs and only four songs.
Right. So it is an EP. Those four songs, I really, it came from me almost giving up music. Yeah. After I got divorced in around well, separated in around 2019. And at the time, I was with my partner who we had a band together. And you feel like you're not only losing your partner, you're losing your drive to do music. And we had these goals, and and then because we're so conservative, I think, and family oriented in the Caribbean, sometimes you feel like the failure of a man, right? When you lose that that marriage, and I fell into a kind of depression, and then I started to find my feet again, because when you have passion for something, you never really lose it. Yeah, and I felt like music healed that depression, and singing those songs, those four songs, and writing those four songs was kind of healing. Yeah. Um and yeah, that's why I chose to come back out around 2021 and do my own thing. And yeah, that I hooked up with super youth Joshua Salcedo out of Trinidad and Tobago, multi-instrumentalist, multi-talented brethren. If we were to go through his resume, it would be crazier than mine. Right? Um, yeah, and we put together those four, and yeah, the rest is history. Just released it. So the name of the EP is Ajay, Agyei, Ajay, Ajay. Yeah. Yeah, that's my middle name. It's a Ghanaian middle name. It means messenger from God, right? And those four songs I felt like were the message that came to me from God for myself that I should share. Because in speaking with other brethren coming out of that depression, I saw how many men in particular were hurting. And that was just like as we were coming out of that COVID period, yeah, and a lot of relationships were hurting and people kind of healing and coming out of it. So I felt like that was the message.
Man, I listen, John G. Man, it's crazy you said that because listening to the album now and hearing you speak about healing, that's what it feels like. It does have this soulful healing feel to it, and I wanna paint a picture to my audience. This is not your typical upbeat soca album. This is a soulful Caribbean vibe. I need you to talk to us about the feel of it now. The feel. Because
Yeah,
it's different. It's not your typical, what we would expect from Trinidad. It's completely different.
yeah, of course it is. So yeah, what we tried to do was create, firstly, soundscapes that were able to accentuate my voice, right? My voice is, and this is not any kind of brag or anything, but my voice is unique, right? It's not the usual voice that you hear. Um, and Super Youth was of the opinion, hey, we don't need too much instrumentation, but we need layers, and we need to create this environment around this voice so that people could kind of sink into what you're singing, right? And I felt so aligned with that, that we just went in, and it was so, I feel like the longest part of, or the hardest part of that journey was to mix each element and put them in the right place, because the creation of the initial recording was just easy. Like a lot of them was like one takes, because I think we were so aligned in how we wanted it to sound. But yeah, you're right. It is like we try to make soulful, um, introspective type music, uh, with a bit of reggae, uh, a sprinkling of pop, but that type of cinematic type of music, really in general, to let you listen, chill out, and think and heal.
Amazing. Now, John G, you also was a music director and Tall Boy. Tall Boy being a film about the origins of the Tall Boy figure. Uh, and those origins are dated to Trinidad.
Yes,
So tell us
yes.
about being a part of such a cultural, um, a culturally important project like that.
Right. So the tall boy, and I must say, kudos goes out to Simon Batiste and Carolyn Page, and Life Garland, the director of that movie, that short. The Tall Boy, it is a documentary about Peter Minshall, another Trinidadian, a legendary mass maker, right? And what he did is at those, San Francisco, I think it was 96, yeah, Olympics. He created the figures that we know go up in the air and imitate the shape of a man, um, swaying in the breeze, right? It's so much more elegant than I could put it, right? But essentially, the rights were not put in the correct place. The copyright wasn't put in the correct place, and the patent, I believe, was stolen from him. Um, and he never really truly got the credit that he deserved for that creation that had this global impact. So Simon, and the end of the entire production, approached me, to take a small music supervisor role and find a song that encapsulated, uh, his, resilience, his perseverance, right? Because even though we see that the documentary says he's on some hard financial times, right, and the state really kind of will try to assist with that, and other creatives, and that whole Kalalu caravan is, seeing some hard times as well, because they're trying to save that large archive of mass history. Um, he's still resilient. He's still him, right? And he's always been him and will always be him till he moves on. So they asked for that, and in putting together some songs that identify that, I must throw in one of mine. So my song Live Strong was in there, and Life Garland heard it, and he was like, that's the song, right? So that song kind of, after the entire story, that is at the end, and it culminates the journey of Peter Minshall through that entire thing. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my journey with that film. It was a small part, but very significant to me. Kind of opened my eyes to how impactful music could be.
Oh man, John G, congratulations on the amazing work you're doing and have done. Ladies
Appreciate
and
it, man.
gentlemen, I told you he's humble, but his resume is stacked. Like John G is that guy. And we are so happy to have him on Pushing Your Peace podcast. John G, we're almost to the end, but you wouldn't be a guest on my show if you didn't get to push some peace. Any word or words that begins with a letter P that has been transformational to your journey, you now have an opportunity to push your peers.
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, I would say passion, but I say perseverance. Perseverance. Perseverance is, if there's any P word for me, it's perseverance. You go through life, you didn't have the support that you think you should have. You persevere because you have another P word, purpose. Um, yeah, you end up in a dark hole, end up down a hill, and you don't know how to get back up. You persevere because you have purpose. So I guess purpose is the more is the bigger P here. But I still would say perseverance. Yeah. Definitely, brother.
You gotta push through it, man. I mean, life is gonna
Always.
hit you with so many challenges.
Definitely, brother. And I would say too for Caribbean people, on that point, Caribbean people, we come from this small place, this tiny place, and we need to push through. We need to push through because our impact is so significant, so large, right? If we do push through, we see what we could do. And then we could talk about the Rihannas and the Nicki Minaj's and the Billy Oceans and the Heather Headleys, right? And the mountains of Caribbean people who have impacted music, film, fashion across the world. Yeah. So we have to push through. And once you push through, you meet the purpose.
And I'll just add one more thing to that, John G. Let's push through together. If you see
Yes,
Rihanna doing
man.
it, Rihanna is not a Beijing. She's from the Caribbean.
Yes, man.
John G doing it at a global level. John G is not just a Trinidadian. He's from the Caribbean, and we all need
Definitely.
to gather behind him as one because we are not as big as those other nations in the world. We need to understand our strengths and also
Definitely.
our weaknesses, and there's nothing greater than a united Caribbean region.
Definitely.
We can do so many things.
Definitely, brother.
So many things. Now, Georgie, I got one more question for you. Well, I got a couple more, but this one is a spin-off question.
I'm here.
All right, so you can only save one for the rest of eternity. It's a cultural one. All right, you ready?
I don't know now.
Doubles or roti? Choose wisely, because your entire homeland is listening.
How dare you?
I
How
had to
dare
do
you,
it.
sir?
I had to do it. I had to do it. This is gonna be
Doubles
interesting.
or roti, man? Good. This is the worst choice known to man. I mean, what is this? Roti. Roti.
Okay,
Roti.
I'm not
I could
even
I
gonna
choose
get. Okay, go
I
ahead.
choose roti.
Okay, I'm not
I'm in
gonna
love with
ask you
roti.
why, because I know it's a tough one culturally, and I don't want you to be bashed. But I just want. I
That's
love
crazy,
it.
bro. That's crazy, bro. That's a crazy question.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had amazing musician, artists, uh, lover of Caribbean culture and activist. I mean, he wears so many hats, and he's paving his own way in the music industry, and we are here to support him throughout this entire journey. John G, There's little John G in high school right now listening to this, and he doesn't have the support of his parents, similar to you. What would be your advice to him?
Uh, Find your tribe, find your people. Yeah. We all think that we're out here alone. We think that we're out here just trying to persevere and push through alone. We're not. We're not. We have similar stories, we have similar backgrounds, we have similar problems. And you really have to find your tribe, right? There are people out here who want to achieve the same things that you want to achieve. Maybe they don't have your voice. Maybe they can't play an instrument like you. Maybe that they can't draw like you or paint like you or sculpt like you. Maybe they can't grab people's attention like you, right? Maybe they're not as academic as you, but as a team, leaning back into what you were talking about, as a team, when you find your tribe, right? That's where you find your support. Family is very important, right? We always pull our initial energy and power from family, but there are many other like-minded people, like-minded souls that are just waiting to connect with each one of us. So don't be afraid, connect with people and find your tribe, the people you align with.
Amazing closing message. Thank you, John G, for being a guest on this show. How can persons find you?
Yeah, man, you could find me, people could find me on my website, www.johnglive.com. You could find me on Instagram at John G Live, right? On Facebook, YouTube, right? Or just search Google John G Trinidad, you'll find me. Yeah, I'm out there.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We've had amazing episode with John G, where we dived into so many great topics, from his journey through music to becoming the artist that he is today, to touching on social issues right here in the Caribbean. It has been a fantastic episode, and we thank him and wish him all the best on his musical journey, not only music but also career. Whatever he pursues, Pushing Your Peace will be right behind him. Thank you so much, John G, for being a guest of Pushing Your Peace podcast.
Thanks, Leo, man. I appreciate it. And everybody connect on Spotify and Apple too. Forgot that. But I appreciate you, man. Together, let's push through.
Yes, we'll see you guys next week on Pushing Your Peace podcast.